Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear students, our today's topic is ozone layer depletion. In this topic, we will be studying some of the important chemical characteristics of ozone, location of ozone in atmosphere, abundance or concentration of ozone in atmosphere. Similarly, then the reactions involved in the formation or production of ozone in the stratosphere, reactions involved in the destruction of ozone in stratosphere, and finally we will study the impact of ozone layer depletion on our environment. So let's move on to our topic. So our today's topic is ozone layer depletion, causes and impacts. First of all, let's know some chemical characteristics of ozone. Ozone word is derived from a Greek word ozine, means to smell. Because ozone has a pungent odor that allows ozone to be detected at smaller amounts. Also, ozone is a triatomic molecule. Sean Bean discovered ozone. The formula was given by Jacques Louis Soret and it was finally confirmed by Sean Bean in 1867 CE. Ozone is 1.5 times denser than O2 gas, that is oxygen gas. So ozone condenses at minus 112 degrees Celsius, which corresponds to minus 170 degree Fahrenheit. It freezes at minus 251.4 degrees Celsius, which corresponds to minus 420 degree Fahrenheit. The gas decomposes rapidly at temperatures above 100 degrees Celsius in the presence of certain catalysts at room temperatures. Ozone is much more reactive. It is an extremely powerful oxidizing agent used commercially as a bleaching agent for organic compounds. As a strong germicide, it is used to sterilize drinking water as well as to remove objectionable odors and flavors. So this is the chemical structure of ozone, and this is the chemical formula of ozone, O3. Okay, this is the three-dimensional chemical structure. This is also the three-dimensional chemical structure, and this is the two-dimensional chemical structure. Here in these chemical structures you can see that one oxygen atom is linked with the central oxygen atom with double bond, and another oxygen atom is linked with this central oxygen atom with a single bond. Okay. Let's know the location of ozone layer. Ozone layer was discovered by the French physicists Charles Fabry and Henry Buisson in 1913 CE. About 90% of ozone lies in stratosphere, which is from 6 to 10 miles up to 50 miles altitude. About 10% ozone lies in troposphere. Stratosphere begins at 16 kilometers in tropics and at 10 kilometers in polar regions. So here you can see this is a graphical representation of atmosphere and different layers of atmosphere showing atmospheric pressure in millibar and also showing the vertical height of atmosphere in kilometers, and it also shows its temperature. This is the temperature curve. Okay, so this is the stratosphere. This is the stratosphere. Okay, and in this portion you can see lies ozone in stratosphere. So let's know the abundance of ozone or concentration of ozone in stratosphere. The concentration of ozone has been found as 12,000 molecules per billion air molecules. In troposphere, the concentration of ozone has been found from 20 to 100 molecules per billion air molecules. The stratospheric ozone is called as good ozone because it forms a protective layer in atmosphere which protects the biosphere from the harmful radiations coming from sun. So it is working like an umbrella or roof of a home. Its thickness is 15 to 35 kilometers. The maximum amount of ozone found is 10 parts per million at 25 to 30 kilometers. The tropospheric ozone is called as bad ozone because it is a pollutant. So let us study the formation of ozone in stratosphere. Ozone is formed by photochemical reactions occurring in stratosphere. Photochemical mechanisms in ozone-oxygen cycle were studied by the British physicist Sidney Chapman in 1930 CE. Now, dear students, you should remember that the formation or production of ozone in stratosphere is a cyclic process and it is happening naturally. This cyclic process has two parts. One is ozone synthesis and the another one is ozone decomposition. Okay, let us study the first one, ozone synthesis. In this process, one molecule of oxygen gets split into two atoms of oxygen with the help of ultraviolet C radiation having a wavelength of 180 to 240 nanometers. Okay, then this oxygen atom combines with another oxygen molecule here and leads to the production of ozone, that is O3. So in this part we studied the synthesis of ozone. In another part, this ozone molecule which was formed gets split up into one oxygen molecule and one oxygen atom with the help of ultraviolet C and ultraviolet B radiations having a wavelength from 200 to 320 nanometers. Okay, so this whole process is cyclic. Again, this O2 is used in the synthesis of ozone again, and this single oxygen atom is also used in the formation of ozone, and the whole process is cyclic. Okay, it is happening daily in stratosphere. Okay, so this is a natural process. I have also given here a 3D diagram of these molecules which react to form ozone molecules. Here again, one molecule of ozone, as it is acted upon by ultraviolet rays, gets split into two atoms of oxygen, and each atom of oxygen combines with another molecule of oxygen which leads to the formation of ozone. Okay, O3. So the overall reaction is 3 times oxygen molecule gives rise to 2 ozone molecules with the help of ultraviolet radiation. Okay, so the whole process of formation and decomposition, that is decomposition, synthesis, this whole process is mediated by solar radiation. Okay, here you can see the solar radiation which comes from sun to the planet, and you should know that sun is the only source of energy in this world. Without sun, nothing can exist on this planet. So here I have shown only 3 rays which come from sun. Otherwise, there are a number of rays which come from some, for example, X-rays, gamma rays, sonar waves, and so on. Here is infrared rays, visible ray, then ultraviolet ray. Visible is, as you can see these colors. For example, you can see blue sky, you can see 7 colors in rainbow, you can see 7 colors of white light in dispersion of light by prism. So here this ultraviolet ray has been classified by scientists into 3 bands of rays, which we were discussing in these reactions. So ultraviolet A, ultraviolet B, and ultraviolet C. This ultraviolet A has both these 3 bands of rays have a wavelength from 100 to 400 nanometers. So this is the wavelength band of these 3 types of ultraviolet radiations. Okay, and among these 3 types of ultraviolet radiations, as you studied in these the synthesis or formation and the formation of ozone, which comprise the synthesis and decomposition of ozone, in this process ultraviolet C gets utilized in the formation or production of ozone. The cyclic process of ozone, ultraviolet C and ultraviolet B gets utilized, and ultraviolet C almost is completely absorbed by ozone, and ultraviolet B is the least amount from ultraviolet B reaches to planet Earth. This ultraviolet B is very harmful, so is ultraviolet C. And this ultraviolet A, the maximum portion of ultraviolet ray reaches to Earth, and this ultraviolet ray, ultraviolet A, is required by plants, it's required by animals. Also, for example, we can synthesize vitamin D in presence of ultraviolet A, and there are many other functions of this ultraviolet A for the living organisms. Okay, so this ozone protects us. It filters the ultraviolet rays, it absorbs the ultraviolet rays, so it is a protective layer for us. So in this slide we are going to study the ozone depleting substances, shortly called as ODS. They are very stable, non-toxic, non-flammable, and environmentally safe in the lower atmosphere, which is why they became so popular in the first place. Chlorine and bromine demolish ozone at an alarming rate by stripping an atom from the ozone molecule. Here I have given a list of some of the main ozone depleting substances and the sources from where they are released. Firstly, we have chlorofluorocarbons. They are released from refrigerators, air conditioners, solvents, dry cleaning agents, etc. Then you have halogens. They are released by fire extinguishers. Then we have carbon tetrachloride released by fire extinguisher solvents, methyl chloroform released by adhesives, aerosols, hydrofluorocarbons released by solvent cleaning, fire extinguishers. Let's have a brief description of these ODS substances. Firstly, we have chlorofluorocarbons, the most widely used ODS, accounting for over 80% of total stratospheric ozone depletion, used as coolants in refrigerators, freezers, air conditioners, in buildings and cars, manufactured before 1995. Also found in industrial solvents, dry cleaning agents, and hospital sterilants. Also used in foam products such as soft foam padding, for example cushions, mattresses, and rigid foam, for example home insulation. Then you have halogens, hydrobromofluorocarbon, HBFC. Halogens, unlike CFCs, contain bromine, which destroys ozone 100 times more than chlorine. Then we have halogens are used primarily in fire extinguishers and methyl bromide pesticide as a pesticide. Then we have methyl chloroform, used mainly in industry as cleaning solvent for vapor degreasing, cooled cleaning, adhesives and chemical processing. Carbon tetrachloride, mainly used as solvent and in fire extinguishers. Hydrofluorocarbons, HCFCs, major transitional substitutes for CFCs, much less harmful to stratospheric ozone than CFCs, but still cause some ozone destruction and are potent greenhouse gases. Dear students, let us study the mechanism of ozone depletion. Here in this topic, we will study the ozone destroying reactions. There are two ways of or processes of ozone depletion. Number one is natural process. Number two is anthropogenic process. That is man-made process. Okay. So you studied just some minutes before you studied the mechanism of formation of ozone, and there you studied the natural decomposition of ozone molecule by ultraviolet B and ultraviolet C radiations. So the decomposition of O3 molecule naturally does not upset the ozone equilibrium, because the loss of ozone is compensated by the creation of ozone through atmospheric circulation. So this does not affect on the concentration of ozone. Okay, but the problem is the anthropogenic process. Anthropogenic process is responsible for the depletion of ozone layer, and this shares a general mechanism of the type as I have given here. X is a reacting species. When it reacts with O3, it's ozone, it gives O2, one molecule of oxygen, and XO, another molecule. So this XO reacts with O, single oxygen atom, it gives rise to O2 and gets separated from O. Then the net reaction is O plus O3. One oxygen atom plus ozone, it gives 2 molecules of oxygen. Okay, so here ozone gets destroyed, it is not formed. It leads to the formation of 2 oxygen molecules. So this is the general mechanism, and we will study the reactions with examples. Ozone layer is destroyed in a varying degrees by free radical species such as this hydroxyl radical, nitric oxide, nitrogen dioxide, chlorine, chlorine monoxide, and many others, and so on. So these radicals are formed by photochemical reactions, as I have told you earlier. These reactions are also initiated by photochemical reactions. Okay, let us study the destruction of ozone by chlorine and then destruction of ozone by nitric oxide. One atom of chlorine, when it reacts with ozone, it gives rise to 1 molecule of oxygen and 1 molecule of chlorine monoxide. One oxygen atom, when combines with chlorine monoxide, it gives rise to chlorine atom as depicted in the general mechanism, and a molecule of oxygen. One atom of oxygen, when it reacts with ozone, it gives rise to 2 molecules of oxygen. So oxygen molecules are here produced. It destroys ozone. In the same pattern, this nitric acid also destroys ozone. Nitric oxide, 1 molecule of nitric oxide, when it reacts with 1 molecule of ozone, it leads to the formation of nitrogen dioxide and 1 molecule of oxygen. So this nitrogen dioxide, when it reacts with single oxygen atom, it gives rise to nitric oxide. So nitric oxide and 1 molecule of oxygen. One atom of oxygen, when it reacts with 1 molecule of ozone, it gives rise to 2 molecules of oxygen. So here 2 molecules of oxygen are finally produced, 2 molecules of oxygen are finally produced. So in nutshell, ozone gets destroyed. These are the 2 examples. There are many more examples also, but here I have given 2 examples, the basic reaction mechanisms behind the destruction of ozone molecules in stratosphere. Okay, all these reactions are initiated by solar radiation. Now let us study the impact of ozone layer depletion. Number 1, impact on aquatic ecosystems. Damage is caused to aquatic organisms like zooplanktons, larval crabs and shrimps and fish, as well as slowing of photosynthesis in phytoplankton. Ultraviolet B penetrates water columns to depths of 30 meters. Increased ultraviolet B exposure in water columns can lead to reduced productivity by interfering with processes of photosynthesis, damages DNA, alters nitrogen metabolism, inhibits mobility. Studies in 1993 were conducted in the Weddell Sea. Then impact on terrestrial plants. Plants are adapted to present levels of ultraviolet B, but they are not adapted to increased levels of ultraviolet B. In presence of ultraviolet radiations, plants show reduced growth and smaller leaves, unable to photosynthesize as efficiently as other plants, yield smaller amounts of seeds and fruits. Impact on human health. The link between ultraviolet B radiations and the incidence of skin cancer is clear. Skin cancer is predominantly a disease of white-skinned people, and the dark pigment melanin is known to be an effective filter of ultraviolet beta radiations. Ultraviolet radiations influence the occurrence of the disease in human population. Overexposure of ultraviolet leads to the increased risk of non-skin cancer, melanoma, and malignant melanoma. Higher risks of malignant melanoma from severe sunburns, especially in childhood. Risk of malignant melanoma has increased 10%. Risk of non-malignant melanoma has increased 26%. Melanoma, the particular form of skin cancer, as reported in many areas, is much rarer than other. Overexposure of ultraviolet B on skin suppresses immune system, accelerates aging of skin due high exposure, cause an outbreak of rash in fair-skinned people due to photoallergy. Can be severe aging of skin due to higher exposure of ultraviolet B radiations. Overexposure to ultraviolet B on eyes are. Ultraviolet B radiations can damage several parts of the eye, including the lens, the cornea, and the membrane covering the eye, conjunctiva. Snow blindness is the result of overexposure to ultraviolet B and occurs in areas of the world with high levels of ultraviolet exposure, including snowy regions at high altitudes. Snow blindness is not unlike sunburn, and if repeated can cause damage to eye over the long term. Cataracts are a clouding of the eye's lens and are the leading cause of permanent blindness worldwide. They are a result of overexposure to ultraviolet. A sustained 10% thinning of the ozone is expected to result in nearly 2 million new cases of cataracts per year globally. Climate impacts of ozone depletion on climate. Due to ozone depletion, the earth heats up. This warms the stratosphere and produces the temperature inversion at the troposphere. There would be no stratosphere without ozone layer. Depletion of stratospheric ozone is predicted to cool this region and hence change the temperature. Number 6 is impact on biogeochemical cycles. The power of higher ultraviolet levels affect the natural balance of gases and greenhouse gases in the biosphere. For example, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, carbonyl sulfide, and ozone. Changes in ultraviolet levels can cause biosphere feeding. Changes in ultraviolet levels can cause biosphere feedback resulting from the atmospheric build-up these gases. So these are some of the most important impacts of this ozone layer depletion. So this is for today. Fi amanillah.